Welcome to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. Each episode will tear down a myth, kick a social norm in the beanbag, gut punch a sex ed untruth, or destroy a poorly constructed relationship expectation. Get ready to unlearn all the crap you accepted as fact. Strap in for a mind-blowing revision on what sex is and what it can do. Prepare yourself for a whole new thought pattern when it comes to modern relationships. And now, here's your host, Jenny Simus, the Intimacy Ally, relationship expert and certified sex and intimacy coach.
Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. It's me, Jenny Simus-Leite, the Intimacy Ally, and I am joined today by this fantastic goddess woman, Kendra Holliday, who I have the pleasure of knowing. And I want to open it up to Kendra to introduce herself a little bit and tell you a little bit about her work. Kendra, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Kendra Holliday, and my pronoun is she, and I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and I've been here since 1979. So I've grown up in St. Louis, and I've grown up all over St. Louis. And for the past 16 years, I've been living in the county, and I have been co-founding Sex Positive St. Louis since 2010, and I've been doing my own brand of sex work since maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So I'm all about the sex positive activism in St. Louis.
Nice. All right. So tell me, I guess initially, how did you get started in this work?
Oh, gosh. So people ask that all the time. And I feel like I came from a very similar stock from a lot of people who grew up in the Midwest. I think a lot of people were raised Catholic. I was raised Methodist, and I had two parents who were married, and I had lots of brothers and sisters, and I went to Sunday school and all those things. And I did find myself questioning a lot of things early on, just not automatically ingesting everything that was spoon-fed to me. But I don't know, like a lot of people are like that. And so then at some point, I guess, I don't know, grade school, high school, and then just trying to figure things out. And I just felt different than a lot of people, but we all have similar experiences, like to me, I feel like being exposed to sex has been like all of us are human beings, and a lot of us are exposed to sex not on our terms. Okay.
Right.
So for me, I was molested when I was 9 years old, and that exposed me to sex in a way that was not on my terms. And it was early on, and it really messed with my psyche for a while, but I was able to somehow alchemize that into something better and make it more my own sexuality. And so in high school, I was doing a lot of experimenting and doing some kind of risky behavior type things. But after that, I was able to really harness it into some greater good work.
Okay. All right. So it was kind of like a curiosity born of being exposed to it, but not on your terms. And so you kind of changed that game in your head and said, guess what? I'm going to take this back.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
And I'm really proud of that, because I feel like a lot of people, when they have sexual abuse or something like that, it will either make you really repulsive, like it makes you sex averse, it makes you sexually anorexic, or it makes you hypersexual. And it kind of reminds me of in the old medieval times where women were either able to choose becoming a nun or a prostitute.
Right. Those were your only options.
Or you could get married, or you could be burned at the stake as a witch, or I don't know, there's so many options, I suppose. But basically you were able to get married and be the property of a man, or you could become a nun or a prostitute. And so the prostitute term it's antiquated but it's very much a familiar term. And I don't think it's a negative. It's like a definition of the profession. But
Okay.
there's also better ways to describe it, as a courtesan or as a sex worker. And that's the most common term these days, is to be a sex worker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very, 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 very proud to be a sex worker for over 10, 15 years. And I feel like it's just the most amazing, rewarding work. And it's not all about the sex. It's,
Mm-hmm.
and I also identify as a surrogate partner, which is
Mm-hmm.
a different type of sex work. I do consider it sex work, but some surrogate partners do not, which is that's their choice. But for me,
Right.
it's a um, very noble profession, because it helps you connect with people and communicate with people and lay with people and feel people and relate to people in a way that I would never be able to if I was just a regular person out in the, like, I don't know, like, I feel like
Right.
I get to connect with people that I don't get to normally spend time with because of
Mm-hmm.
the work that I do.
So I guess when you got started, how did it happen? Were you talking to people and saying, you know what, I feel really comfortable and I want to share this gift, but I also want to get out of the rat race? Like, how did that happen? How did you first start? Or was it like online? Was it ads? Talk to me about it.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think that the first time I got paid for sex was when I was 19 years old. And I
Okay.
was just trying to figure things out. So I got kicked out of my house when I was 18 years old. And
Mm-hmm.
I was homeless and I didn't know where to go. And then I found a living arrangement where I didn't have any money. I didn't have a car. I didn't have anything. So I was able to find a job, and I raised up enough
Mm-hmm.
money to buy the cheapest little car you could possibly imagine, like a little silver roller skate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I drove it to the east side in St. Louis. So the east side is where all the strip clubs were. And I walked into a
Okay.
strip club, and normally you have word of mouth. You have somebody helping you get into the business. But I just went
Mm-hmm.
right in there, and I said to the people working there, I said, "Will you hire me even if I can't dance and I don't have tits?" And they said yes, because I was so slender at the time. I was so slim, and I
Mm-hmm.
really still can't dance. And so anyway, so they said yes, because I was a woman, I was cute and stuff. And so I
Mm-hmm.
started working there when I was 19 years old, and it was jumping into the deep end in a way that I do not recommend, because I was so
Okay.
naive. I didn't drink or anything like that, and it was just brutal. And so at that year of doing the stripping as a teenager, it really
Mm-hmm.
made me loathe men, hate men. I felt like men were the enemy. I felt men were predators and they were just out to
Mm.
get me all the time. And it was horrible. And they were
Okay.
constantly hitting on me and trying to break me down all the time. And
Mm.
I didn't know any better. And that happened for a while. And then when I finally broke free of the stripper industry, a lot of my colleagues, I call all my sex worker friends my colleagues, when they would
Yeah.
flee the
I mean, what else would you
situation
call
and take
them?
all of their, yeah, exactly. So when they would quit the business, and they would always come back. They would always
Mm-hmm.
return because they got seduced by the money. They got the lifestyle that just kind of hooks you. And so when I
Mm.
decided that I didn't want to be in this anymore, I decided, when I quit this place, I am never coming back. And I'm so grateful that I was able to pack up all my little high heels and my little G strings and my fishnets and everything. And I took off and I never went back. And so I'm really glad about that. And I went into nursing school,
Mm-hmm.
and I went into different businesses and industries and office jobs and lots of different things over the years. Okay. So fast forward to
Mm-hmm.
one of my in about the mid 2005 or so is when I was at another office job that was not fulfilling. It was just one of those things. And I got laid off. And because I had a little taste of the sex work back in the past, I decided that
Mm-hmm.
I would do a little experiment and put an ad up on Craigslist. And
Okay.
so I put up an ad on Craigslist, and it was just a little ad about escorting. And I was amazed that within an hour, I had 200 inquiries just piling up, just so much. And that was back, 20 years ago. It was wild. And so I just started slinging the dicks, like I just started doing the thing, and it was so invigorating and scary and exhilarating and wild. And I did it. And I'm so proud that I did it. But also I want to say that I did it for a few months, and I
Mm-hmm.
documented every single encounter. I'm really glad I did that, because I look back at things and I'm like, whoa, but anyway, so then I noticed as I was doing escorting that I was really
Mm-hmm.
gravitating towards the men who were having a loss or some sort of dysfunction or disability or something that was not just doing it for entertainment or for sport or for kicks. It was more the
Yeah, they
people
were
who,
doing it more for like healing.
yeah, and doing it because,
Okay.
yeah, and it was just so, to me, it just touched me so much in a way that I just didn't ever feel comfortable being like, there's this terms in sex work where a woman, the sex worker, sorry, they're not all women, but a sex worker is a provider and the man is the hobbyist. And I didn't like
Oh,
that
wow.
dynamic at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
I've
hobbyist.
never heard that. Okay.
Yeah. And so there's also a slur for hobbyist, a slobbyist, because they're so
Oh, nice.
slobby and yucky, and they're collecting people like on their little scorecard or something, and they're writing
Mm-hmm.
reviews, and they're being very tokenizing and objectifying to the people that they're spending intimacy with. And
Gotcha.
I just can't abide to that, like I just want
Mm-hmm.
more on the way of connection and intimacy. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to pivot from being that type of lifestyle into the more of the surrogate partner work and the healing work and the cuddling and the holding space for people, and not just it. There is sex involved, but it's so much more than that. As we all know, it's so much more about connecting and being intimate and being seen and feeling another person. And I
Yeah.
think that we all have that in common, even if we have different genitals or different interests or we come from different places. And that's what I really, really enjoy most about it, is that you get to spend really close, intimate time with people that you wouldn't normally get to be with.
It's really awesome. Now, in your work, have you found like it to be as dangerous or scary as I think the majority of people who have no experience with like intimacy professionals or surrogates or sex workers or whatever would portray it to be? Like, I feel like it's like a cautionary tale. Like, don't let women go into this work. Oh my God, they're all going to get beat up and hurt and, raped and yada, yada. And I feel like that is not the response that I've gotten from the people I know in this work. So, what's your take on that? Have you had a lot of experiences like that? Or are you
um,
okay sharing if
oh
you
yeah,
if
of
you have?
course. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, yeah. So I think that whenever I do these talks at universities or at study groups or places, ethical society, places like that, they always want to know
Mhm.
about safety. They always want to know about legal safety and STI safety and body safety and all the things, and I really do feel I'm bragging that I feel like I am successful in what I've done, because I have managed to navigate this very stigmatized world, and
Mhm.
I've spent so much close contact and intimate contact in my own home and in my own body with so many strangers that become not strangers anymore once you get to really be that way with them. And um and I think that whenever you're on YouTube or on social media or something, you just see all the horror stories of just really scary stuff happening. And I'm
Mhm.
very much seeing that, people who go out after dark and they don't come back, and the whole sex worker trope and being victimized and all that stuff, which is very much a thing, and especially for people who are not me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
middle class white lady. I have a home, I have a partner, I have all the trappings of somebody who is in a safe place. But if you
Right.
are more transient, like I used to be, I've been homeless a couple of times, I've been victimized a few times, but that was all before sex work, like
Right.
I had way more dangerous encounters and things when I was dating than I have
Mm-hmm.
with sex work. And I feel like with this container that we have, it really helps everyone kind of know where they stand. And it helps with
Okay.
having the boundaries and having the rules of engagement, and it all really
Mm-hmm.
helps people feel more safe. And so that's really interesting to me, because a lot of these men are scared too. And they're very
Mm-hmm.
much nervous, and they feel like they don't have access to this type of world. And so when they come and they want this kind of thing, it's very scary for them as well. And I know, because there are people who get ripped off, they get scammed, there's all that stuff. So when you can find real people and really connect with them, it's just a really precious thing. But overwhelmingly, 99% of people out there are good people. Some need to be
Okay.
educated better. Some
Mm-hmm.
need to be taught, and some need to be, you need to communicate with people about what is okay and what is not okay. Some people don't know any better. And it's really nice to have that
Yeah.
opportunity to teach them. And so many people are just, they really do want to do right by their fellow human beings, and they want to
Mm-hmm.
share pleasure, and they want to have a nice time, and they're not out to get you. They're not out to, I don't know, like, it's just very
Yeah.
much a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same kind of trope stuff that we know when I work with women who are getting back into online dating and they're scared because of these horror stories or whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I want you to know that a lot of the abuse and the homicide and the sexual assault and things like that, that happens from people that you know. That happens from people that are in your world, that are in relationship with you, that have access to you, people
Mhm.
that you're meeting online. Like, there's a couple of ways you can try to be safe. You can set up some safeguards. You can make sure that you check things out before you meet somebody. You can meet somebody in public if you're not feeling great about meeting up with them. Like, there are definitely ways that we as women can be safer. And I think that you are just, the epitome of that. Like, all right, here we go. We're gonna do this in a safe container, and you're making it a safe container.
Yeah.
So I just
I'm
think that's
leading by
fantastic.
example. I'm leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leading with an open heart. I'm telling people I love, I don't know, but I just want to love people and feel, and I
Mm-hmm.
just want to say that so many men are so disparaged and disrespected, and they have such a bad rap, but men are just, they're
Mm-hmm.
just the same as us. And I don't mean to be so gender binary here, but I will say that most of my clients are men, and I very much am a femme person. I'm very feminine. And I
Mm-hmm.
really believe that we, like Emily Nagoski says, that
Mm-hmm.
we all have the same genitals, they're just arranged differently. And I think we all have the same brains, but they're arranged differently. Every person has a different brain, and we have different
Mm-hmm.
hearts, and we have different, all that stuff is all there, and we all can connect. And one of the things I really like to do is to play a game with every person I meet. If, like, find 5 things you have in common with the person you're talking with, and 5 things that are different. And it's so
Okay.
easy.
That's pretty awesome.
It's a fun little game.
I like that.
Yeah.
So when you get new clients,
Mhm.
or I guess rather, yeah, no, let's start there. When you get new clients, how do you let them know? How do you
Mm.
help them understand that you are this safe haven, as it were?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So thank you. So I put as much of myself out on the internet as I possibly can. So I have the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps are professional, personal, and philanthropy. And
Okay.
professional site is beopenandhonest.com, and it's my site. People can contact me and work with me either for talking consultations or hands-on intimacy sessions. But my favorite thing is my personal blog, which is thebeautifulkind.com. And the Beautiful Kind website is all about being open and honest and sharing so much about me, so that when people look me up and look up YouTube videos or whatever, they see that I'm real. I'm not a bot. I'm not a spam. I'm not a something that nefarious. I'm definitely someone who is very much open and friendly and accepting. And I feel like I'm really middle of the road about things, like I'm not too gorgeous. I'm not too this, like I'm kind of just right for people. I'm very approachable. I'm very middle of the road, which I'm totally great with. I really love to be very natural and approachable. Finally, the philanthropy side is Sex Positive St. Louis, which I co-founded in 2010. And that's the philanthropy side. That's a volunteer arm. That's where we have 2 to 4 events a month that are free to people to attend, and discussions and clothing optional events and all those good things, so that if people can't afford my fee for talking with me or having intimacy with me, they can still access some of this really important information that is out there, because we live in such a sex negative or ignorant society. It's horrible. It's so bad. And it feels like it's getting worse, but that might be me reading into the media too much or something. But we want to offer a positive place for people to explore their sexuality and get good sex education, and not this terrible,
like everything is bad and you
and
shouldn't ever touch, and no, it's bad for you, and don't engage in it too much, and desire is a
you'll get
sin, and
diseases
all of that.
if you kiss somebody, and if you do
Oh,
anything,
yeah.
like you're gonna contract all these things, and also you're gonna get hit by lightning, and God is going to put you in hell. That religion thing is just a trip to me, because when you called me at the
It's
beginning of this
rough.
talk, when you call me a goddess, like a goddess, like you want God and goddess, you want that to be a kind, loving, unconditional love kind of thing, and not this smiting, judgmental,
Yeah.
angry, vengeful thing. I don't get that at all. So that's why
Nope.
the Beautiful Kind to me is like the church of the Beautiful Kind, which is about love and pleasure, and how that's our birthright, and how we need to enjoy ourselves. And again, you can't just go into that blind. You have to be able to have feedback and communicate with people and have the safe space for it. So going back to what you said about how people know that I'm a safe haven, is that I just have that whole brand going, and then people can just be in that safe place. And I see about 5 clients a week, and they're all such different individuals. And they always feel like they're in some sort of sanctuary. They're in an oasis. They're in a safe place, and they can just breathe and relax and just sigh and just feel so good. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, because
Right.
it's just such a beautiful place to be. And we all
Like they
should
can
have that.
unmask for a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All the high power executives and all of the people who have to play all these roles in our society. Exactly.
Have
And
to
just to
be
be able to
so
just,
manly. Rah, rah, rah. I never cry. I never
yeah.
get upset. Da, da, da. That's a thing. Like
Mhm.
I had an interview with someone who, unfortunately, the interview is like kind of messed up, so I have to like redo it. But
Mhm.
it was all about how male toxicity, one, he was very clear that like he believes a big chunk of the work that needs to happen with male toxicity needs to come from other men. He was like,
Mhm.
we as men need to go ahead and say, like, it's not like either ultra feminist or MAGA madman. There's so many in betweens, and we need to remind everybody that there are all these in betweens.
Mhm.
But I think that knowing that you are doing work with men as well, like that's when I talk to the women that I'm working with on the other side of it, who are trying to figure out why there are no good men, I'm like, there are so many good men, they
Mhm.
don't know that they're any good. Like, they just don't know, and nobody's telling them that, and
Yeah.
nobody's boosting their confidence or,
Mhm.
like, making them aware that they should be going out and, like, being able to feel happy that, yes, they have a penis, they can also be a good person. Like, it's become this thing where, like, if you have a penis, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And I think that you do work to help people. Am I wrong? Like, I feel like you do work to help
No.
people realize that.
Yeah. So I have top 10 blog posts that I've ever written, and one of them is toxic masculinity from a sex worker perspective.
Okay.
And I have, again, so many people coming to me, people who are PTSD veterans, people who are just from so many walks of life. My youngest clients are in their early 20s. My oldest client was 91 years old. And
Wow.
they're just from so many generations and so many messaging that is just so toxic. It's toxic, and
Mhm.
and they really do feel like a what you said it so well, and for me to be able to take them in and to here's another thing I want to say is that
Okay.
I
Mm.
have radiance, and everyone has a radiance inside of them, and most of your
Okay.
radiance is taken like most of your radiance comes out through your eyes and your smile, or maybe other
Okay.
places, but a lot of men tamp down their radiance. They tamp it down, they shove it down, and they put gray on top of it, and they're just like very much like that. And so I like to bring out their
Mhm.
radiance, and I like to tell them you're handsome, and I like to tell them what's beautiful about their body and their skin and things that they are not even aware of. And so it's very sweet when I'm able to tell them you have nice calves, or you have a nice, I love your chest hair tickling my nose, or something like that. It's just so sweet. and
Mhm.
and they don't know that they're carrying these treasures within, on their outside
Mhm.
or the inside. And it's really nice to be able to explore that and acknowledge it and recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so when you are working with your clients, what are you trying to help them focus on, I guess? Or when they come to you, w-
Hmm.
what are they coming for? Like, are they upset with how things have been going, or
Hmm.
do they feel unworthy of, like,
Hmm.
looking for relationships, like, or are you, I mean, I guess you're getting like a grab bag of many things.
Uh-huh. Which makes it so fun. Every person is like a grab bag, a present you open up and you get to see what's inside, and it's always fun, but there are some definite 5 most common things people are dealing with.
Yeah.
And
Lay
and
it
so
on us.
but everyone's so unique and individual, and so I like if it's like saying everyone with muscular dystrophy is the same. It's not true. Like
Right.
everyone with a
Yeah.
certain whatever, but there are some common things about. So I think that with the men who come to me, some come because they're very curious and they've never been able to speak about these things. I can't tell you. I'm sure you've had this happen many times where someone will say to you, I have never told someone this before. It happens all the time, especially with
Yes.
people like us. And I totally get off on that. I love it. I love it. Like that's real talk. That's a real talk. It's not small talk. It's
Yeah.
talk,
I
you know?
feel like really like it
Mhm.
just makes my heart warm because I'm like, you trust me to hear this? Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, and of course, everything I do is kept confidential. So if I
Mhm.
do write about somebody, I ask permission, and I make it anonymous and so on, but
Right. Of
I
course.
have public parts. I don't have private parts. I have public parts, but other people have to have private time, and I
Mhm.
get that. But I intersect with so many different people, and so I like to share these experiences with people with permission, because it shows that you're not alone and you're not the only person with a sneezing fetish, or
Mhm.
something kind of that they think is so weird, and so
Right.
when they
Do you
come to
ever
me,
find that it's really not what you would consider that weird? Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times somebody will come to me and I'll be like, that's awesome that you shared that. In the back of my mind, I'm like, that's not weird. What are you talking about? That's great. If you
but
like that, that's fantastic.
yes, I always say that you can think and fantasize and have anything in your head that you can think anything you want. It could be as wild as you want. It's how you act on it that matters, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if
Mm-hmm.
you have these fantasies and things you feel ashamed about, but also I will tell you that I've been doing this fetish work and things for a decade, like a long time. And there are times where someone will come to me with something, and I do have that visceral knee jerk response of, ooh, that's weird. And one example is adult baby diaper lover. So ABD,
Okay.
I've had that reaction a long time ago where I was like, ew,
Mm-hmm.
that's weird. But then I start researching it. I think
Mm-hmm.
about it. It plants a
Mm-hmm.
seed. And then I can see, oh my God. So I don't want to wear a diaper, but I definitely like being read stories too. I like
Mm-hmm.
being cuddled. I like intimacy. And so things that they
Kind of
like.
whispered, kind of hair played with.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I have such a hair fetish. You just said that and I just got goosebumps. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. But anyway, but all those things are just so beautiful. And so the sneezing fetish I mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
that's like an orgasmic release. So at first you think, oh,
Nice.
that's weird. But then you're thinking, that makes sense. You know, it's a body
Mm-hmm.
response and it's a release. It's a tension like thing.
Yeah.
And so it's just whenever you hear about these things, and I'll go, that's weird, but what is weird? What is weird? And then you drill down and
Right.
you figure it out. And I'm weird, you're weird.
Mm-hmm.
But also we're all, that whole thing about, am I normal? People always
Yeah.
say, yes, you're
What is
normal, but
that?
we're not normal, like we're all weird and I
Right.
love it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Absolutely.
But I'm so sorry
All right.
I keep
So
going off topic. And I'm
next
so sorry.
ones.
But
It's
but the
okay.
but the top 5 things are mostly people who are feeling shame about something, are in
Mm-hmm.
transition, whether they're having a breakup or they've been recently widowed.
Mm-hmm.
Also, dysfunction. The most popular ones are uh, erectile dysfunction, rapid ejaculation. And the most challenging one to work on, in my opinion, is the inability to orgasm with a partner or
Mm-hmm.
delayed ejaculation. That one's challenging. But the other ones, if you have enough time and patience, you can work with them pretty well. But that one, I have been able to, with anyone, when anyone comes to me with something, I can help them get along the way. But in only 5 sessions or so, it's difficult to cure or solve the whole problem 100%. But you can definitely
Mm-hmm.
open their ideas up to new possibilities and options and tools that they didn't have before because they were taught just this one way all the time because of porn or lack
Mm.
of sex education. But if they can
Right.
come to it from a more person-centered experience, then it's
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like some of that sensate focus that
Oh,
you're helping them with, like
mhm, mhm.
relearning what like touch can mean.
Yes,
Whoosh.
and
Yeah, that's a hard one.
an experience is another big one. So
Okay.
people go through. Most people have sexy experiences in high school. Most people do, but some people do not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if the older you get and the less experience you get, it turns into more and more of a like an issue that is really it
Like
becomes
it's
really big.
anxiety inducing.
And
Yeah.
so, yes. And so if you can get with somebody and be in a safe place and
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to perform or show off or something, and you can just communicate and talk about what's going on, just like Sensate Focus Touch is about being mindful and being aware of textures, temperature, pressure of what is happening at the moment and being able to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge and talk about that and not have to think, what do I need to do next? What do I like? Am I this? Am I hard enough? Am I doing this? If you can just
Right.
take that off the table, it makes it, though all of
Yeah.
this
Or
is anxiety is what causes a lot of these problems. And if you
yeah.
can relax somebody, if you can calm someone down, and again, coming into this world can be very freaky for some people, but
Mm-hmm.
if you can normalize it and help people acclimate to it, then it is just humanity.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to thank you because I think that the work that you're doing is helping to produce men who are more ready and more willing to be in relationship and
Mhm,
to
mhm.
date women wholeheartedly or, at least try without all of that built up, pent up shame, guilt, fear,
The cheese puzzle.
anxiety.
Mhm.
machismo. Yeah, all of it. Like, and, going back to like, the dysfunction, the inability to ejaculate, like just being able to play and
Mhm.
like not have an expectation
Mm.
of ejaculation, like that must be amazing for some of these men.
Yeah. And to be in a flow state where you're just feeling pleasure and you're realizing, of course, we all know the brain is the biggest sex organ, the skin is a sex organ, all these things. But really, men come to me very penis centered. They're penis folk. They're very much about the penis. And if you can
Mhm.
pull out from that and take in the whole body. So one of my things that I really enjoy is prostate massage. So I nicknamed
Okay.
myself prostate mama, like I like a prostate massage, but it's not for it's not to be taken lightly. Whenever you're
Okay.
penetrating anybody, no matter
Mhm.
if it's a needle, if you're a healthcare worker or a tattoo artist or anytime you're penetrating another body, I take that
Mhm.
sacredly. Like I don't just go around doing, whatever. Anyway, so when someone comes, they want a prostate massage. I don't know
Mhm.
what other people's technique is like, but what I always start with
Mhm.
is I always start at the top of their head and I work my
Okay.
way all the way and I touch all their body and get their whole body awakened and relaxed and feeling good. And then I finally
Mhm.
go to the penetration part of it, the insertion part of it, because I think that's where people think it the whole point is. But if you incorporate all that other stuff, it makes it so much more
Mhm.
significant, profound, and pleasurable and successful.
Right. And
Yeah.
pleasurable, I bet.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you're doing that, are you using hand tools? Are you pegging, or do you do a combination of things?
I most prefer using I have the nitrile gloves, the kind that tattoo
Okay.
artists use, because they're black
Mhm.
and sexy. So I use a glove
Mhm.
and lube, and I love using my fingers because that helps me
Okay.
read
'Cause you
the
can.
pulse of the person. That makes me feel so connected. I feel so like when you feel that heartbeat and you feel that prostate swell and you feel that is
Mhm.
nothing like it. Like you can use toys, you can use pegging and stuff like that, but to me, I prefer but unfortunately, I've got kind of short fingers, so I have what I have to work
Not as
with, and
bad as
so
mine.
I know, I mean, like me, but I wish they were a little bit longer, but that's what the pleasure tools are for, if you can't quite
Right.
access those things, but I did get to anally fist one man one time.
One time. All right.
One
How'd
That's
it
the only
go?
time I've ever anally fisted somebody.
Okay. Was
And
it
it's
good?
pretty
Did he have fun?
well, he definitely he definitely levitated and spun around and all that stuff, so that was the level of pressure and connection that he needed to have that experience.
Okay.
But I've had that happen with my fingers in a prostate massage. I'm not kidding you, like
Right.
people have levitated off the table, they shake, like it's a whole thing. And
Right.
uh-huh.
Dang.
I
All
know,
right.
it's so intense, oh my gosh. Yeah.
You're like, "It's my
But
faith. It's
but
my
I
thing."
I don't mean to
The
say, like,
prostate mama.
I couldn't do that every day because it's so
Right.
intense, I can do it
Yeah.
as a specialty kind of service, but in general, touching somebody and helping them get in their body and feel that and so when people come to me, they want a certain thing, but what I try to do is find out what their current situation is and their past history and what their goal is. Their goal is
Okay.
to what? To have a prostate massage. Their goal is to control their penis more or to find out if they're a good lover. If they have a
Mhm.
goal in mind, then we can work with that. But also when they come to me with certain things, then you can also open them up to other possibilities. Like you thought you wanted sex, but what you really wanted was love or
Cuddling.
care or
Mhm.
touch or so many other things
Mhm.
that are just all part of
Yeah.
us being human. Again, I'm on a human kick.
Yeah.
And
Just
I do work with
connecting.
women and couples and transgender. I've worked with some people like that, but in general,
Mhm.
most of my clients are men. And I think men contact me because they're the ones Googling things that they want to look for. They have
Mhm.
have that privilege. They feel entitled to look for what they want. And a lot of them have the means to do it. And they have the time to do it. They have so much, and I don't mean to say privilege in a bad way, but they have money. They can take time off work. They can make this stuff happen for themselves. And a lot of people don't even think that's a consideration. When I talk to men and I say to them, I said, what are your top 3 turn-ons? Men will say this, this, and this. And when I ask a woman or somebody else what their top 3 turn-ons on, most of the time they say, I don't know. Oh my gosh. You know, like, but maybe it's in there, but they don't have that access, that privilege, that entitlement.
They don't have the freedom. Yeah. It's kind of like
so
when
we
we're
all should-
younger, you know, like with my brothers, it was like, oh, your brother's in his room, leave him alone for 10, 15 minutes, or oh, your brother's in the bathroom again, leave him alone for a little bit. I never had that. No one ever said that for me. Like I got swatted on the butt if I started humping something or, you know, whatever when I was a kid. So like, what the hell? So it's that. And then it just keeps propagating, right? Like we get older and older and the women take on all the home roles and on top of that, a job and on top of that, this. And then you ask them, hey, what turns you on? And it's like a nap. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Not having to do a 3rd round of dishes, maybe.
Yeah. It's such a shame. And then it just really reminds me, kind of off topic, but whenever you go back and look at any movie from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even maybe the 1990s, all the movies have those messages that are so sexist and race and weird and stuff. You know, like you look at it and you're just like, oh my God, like we can do better than that. And people of a lot of my clients are boomers, and they get that message from that generation of films and things, and they see that. And so it's just nice to
and they think that that's somehow normal and not Hollywoodized. And it's like, but yes, it very much was. Like, it wasn't like that. Like, we weren't, the families weren't any better or stronger. Like, I feel like now they probably are, because we talk about things like consent. We talk about things like being able to express your sexuality. Well, in a lot of places, we got to work on it. We got to do better. It's part of why I'm doing this. It's part of why I've like shut down a lot of what I'm doing. And I'm just trying to interview as many amazing people like yourself to like make people know, like, look at the wondrous variety of options to learn a different way. Like, you don't have to just accept the sex ed that you got in high school or 5th grade or whatever. You can learn, look, you have this whole thing that you've been doing, Sex Positive St. Louis, for how long?
Since 2010. And I am so proud to represent St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, we need a Kendra, we need a Jenny, we need all of us everywhere. You know, every town, every place should have a sex positive community, some options, surrogate partners. Everyone should have access to that.
But the fact that you created like this community there that's been going for over 10 years, like almost 15 years, that's fantastic.
We have
it needs to happen in like every city. What the hell?
Yes. And so when we first started, it was just 2 of us, then 4 of us, then 100 of us. And then it bloomed into over 5,000 members at the moment. I know.
Goodness.
We have a meetup page, and we're just so proud because just every month we have so many great topics. I've been doing a menopause support Zoom kind of thing. And next month we're talking about LGBTQ politics in Missouri, which is so important. Oh my God. Ugh. Like, it's so frustrating that we live in this state, but St. Louis is kind of more progressive than other parts of our state. But anyway, but we just have to represent and to let people know. And I don't know. And then
I'm going to have you on like a whole other episode to talk about that. We're going to just break into Sex Positive St. Louis and all the cool things that it's done and it's doing and all of that.
You need to get my co-founder, David Wraith, on the podcast.
Yes.
David
we
Wraith.
are going to do that.
Oh my goodness. I've been spending good time with David recently. I saw a sex worker get together last night, and we've been making some magic. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, Kendra, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. Is there anything else that you want to shout out about sex work or working with men, your focus on your clients, anything like that before we wrap up? Did I miss
Oh
anything?
God, I think I've rambled enough, but I just want to circle back and say that I am just so proud of St. Louis, Missouri, and I love what I do so much, and I feel very safe, and I feel like I can be a good resource for a lot of people. And you can find me at thebeautifulkind.com and Sex Positive St. Louis and beopenandhonest.com. But I am very backed up with clients right now,
Okay.
so I really apologize for that. That's my biggest problem, is that I wish I could clone myself. I wish that there were
Oh
more
my
people
goodness.
available for these kind of things, but
But I
there's
love that you're doing it. You said you see like one client a day and you were like, yeah, you could make a whole lot of money,
yeah,
seeing multiple clients a day, but you take it, like so seriously. And I bet it affects you, emotionally, physically, all of it, like just taking it in and giving. Like
yeah.
it's beautiful that you have found the sweet spot of
Hmm.
where you can serve, where you don't feel like you're, taken away from yourself. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
and
that's
making sure it's
fantastic.
quality time. And so
Mhm,
talking appointments are less invasive or energetically than an intimacy session. So I do one or
mhm,
two talking appointments a day, maybe, but I also
mhm,
spend so much time just enjoying myself and being with friends and family and loved ones, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there hustling and grinding and doing all those things. And it's nice to be able to really enjoy. And, I'm not trying to. A lot of people are struggling and they're working two jobs and things, and I've been there before. I've worked nights, and
mhm.
I've been home. I've done all that stuff, and it's really wonderful to have the opportunity to pull out of that and be able to live life the way we are supposed to. Every person should have free time and enjoy themselves and have all those things that we all should. We all deserve that. And
Yeah, pleasure is a right, you know?
mhm.
Yeah.
And
Well, Kendra, I can't thank you enough for coming
thank you.
on. I wanna thank everybody for listening to this episode of Storytime with the Intimacy Ally, where we say, "Fuck no" to the status quo. All right, my lovelies.
All
Until
right,
next
thank
time.
you. All right, appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. We hope you learned a bit more about putting the fire back in your romantic relationships, exploring communication and emotional readiness in all relationships, and how to expand your definition of intimacy so you can reach your relationship goals. Go to theintimacyally.com to subscribe and never miss an episode. Follow the links in the show notes to social media and events. Till next time, keep on learning, growing, and thinking. Storytime with the Intimacy Ally podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as health or mental health advice.